it's very important, and EPA has a strong impact on this. So it was already developed, I must say, before my active time as President-elect, because it was already seen as let me say, a very important part of the EPA policy to integrate these younger colleagues, and they liked to be accepted by this. They developed their own dynamics, and it's still, let me say, the program of EPA, the official program, to integrate they even much more. And I'm happy to say that they developed extremely well. Yesterday I saw the report of the chairman of the, now they call them early career psychiatrists, and it was really extremely convincing that this is a wonderful group, very active, and really the new generation for the future. So EPA is on solid grounds also under this aspect. I think there are different aspects, and it's difficult to say the three main achievements. I think very important was that EPA managed in the early phase not to be only an association between, let me say, German and French psychiatrists where it started. So very early EPA was able, it was before my time, to then integrate also the English psychiatrists, which is a huge group and with a high professional standard. So now they are together, and of course now we have psychiatrists from all European countries, and now English is the official language of the EPA. So originally it was German and French, but you know, nowadays English is the international business language, and so it was very good that we achieved this. If it comes to another achievement, I think it's wonderful that we now have 2,000 individual members coming from all these different European states, and this is much more than compared to the time EPA started. I think they started with 200 psychiatrists. So it was a slow growing process, but each year now we have additionally, let me say, 120, 150 members, so EPA is growing. And the third big achievement, I think, is this unification with the national societies. That means now we integrate the national societies and also their member in a certain way, which I cannot describe here in detail, but nowadays EPA speaks for 7,000 psychiatrists all over Europe, and I think this is strengthening EPA and giving EPA a much better mission, also in terms of political connections. So that means on the EU level with the Brussels administration, and so we are now a very strong association. EPA is now the voice of the European psychiatrists. That's the only association for general psychiatry. We have another European one, but which is specialized on neuropsychopharmacology. ECMP, it's a European College of Neuropsychopharmacology, but we are the only group which is covering the whole spectrum of psychiatry. That means diagnosis, classification, psychopathology, and so on and so on. In terms of the society, I think it's very important that we really vitalize now this bridge to the national societies. Formally, it's more a bit administrative so far, but now we want to have their impact increasingly be seen in the organization and of course also in the congresses. So it's very important to vitalize this. Another point is that we becoming stronger in helping our politicians on the EU level in Brussels to take care, to understand better what's going on in psychiatry, what are the deficits, how we can overcome these deficits, how we can, for example, guarantee that we have more equality in Europe if it comes to diagnosing, treating and caring of patients with mental health problems. So far there is huge inequality due to the differences in the financial situation and also the psychosocial and medical background. So that's, I think, it's a very important point for the future. And to achieve this, and let me say also to coach this a bit, we developed an initiative, the so-called guidance initiative. So with certain expert groups, we write guidance papers on different topics, which is helping to develop these standards, which should be then equally accepted through Europe. And on the other side, they should also help the politicians to understand where something is lacking and where there must be something done to increase caring, but also to increase research in several fields. For example, our first guidance paper was on the topic of metabolic and cardiovascular risk of patients having severe mental disorders. This is a big issue, very important, because we cannot only care for the, let me say, psychic side of our patients, but we have also to understand that many severe mental disorders are associated with somatic comorbidity, high rate of diabetes, high rate of other metabolic disorders, and due to this high rate of cardiovascular risks. And so, for example, this is one of our missions to think about this and to improve this.